the Shadow King, marry him, kill him, and take his kingdom for herself. Something along the lines of, yeah, he's a baked brick. I really like the tones in this. Hello lovely bookworms, and welcome to the final video for Christmas countdown. We're sitting down in a little bit of a different spot. As you're watching this, it is currently Christmas Day, so a very Merry Christmas to you. You might not be watching this on Christmas Day, but if you are, Merry Christmas. If you're not, I hope you've had an amazing Christmas in any case. As I've done in Christmas countdowns past, I have done a sort of makeup-y get ready with me video, hence why I have such a bare face. And I thought we could do it a little bit differently, where I talk about books based on the current makeup step that I'm doing. I'll also talk you through some of my makeup items, but just ones that sort of stick out to me, if that makes sense. I'm not going to talk you through all of them. Unless you're interested, then let me know. So I'm not going to talk too much in this intro. Let's just get this face going and I'll talk about books. If you see me watching down a little bit, that's because my mirror's over here. I can't just do my makeup in the viewfinder, so makeup's down here. I have two very festive little clippy. I use these every single day, but they're a little bit festive because they have glitter. So let's clip my hair back. So step number one is primer, and that one is pick a book that left a lasting impression. I think there's quite a few that I could potentially put in this spot. And I think the one that I'm going to choose which left a lasting impression is The Poppy War. I have read this book years ago and I have yet to continue on with the series. The Poppy War in general is just such an in-depth book in that sense, and it is very heavy. So we follow a woman who goes to train. I think it's been a while, so I have to do this from the top of my head, but if I remember correctly, she actually goes to a school, and that school is absolutely brutal. It's a magical school where she has to learn the ways of the world. But what struck me most with this is how incredibly brutal this is. I remember listening to the audiobook for this, and to me it is just one of the most heartbreaking stories I've ever read. And there's parts of that, at least that first book, because I can't talk about the second and third one yet, but if the first book is any indication, the other ones are just as brutal. There's one scene, and I'm so glad I listened to it, because as I was listening to it, I was forced to keep reading. I couldn't just pause it because I was doing other things. And as I was sort of thinking about it more and more, I just realized how in-depth it was. And it was just it's a very big book, so it's one of those that you have to take your time with, but it is absolutely incredible. And I think it is a book that you should sort of set yourself to read. It is a really good book, but it's not a fun book. I didn't have a fun time with it, whereas I can see that it is one of the best books I think I have ever read. So I've done my primer, and the second one for me is eyebrows. And eyebrows is pick a book you think everyone should read. And I had a long, hard thought about this, because I feel there's a lot of books that I personally really enjoy. So if I had to give you one recommendation for the rest of my life with the books I've currently read, it is going to be this one, and that is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. It is a book that follows Nari. Nari actually lives as a thief on the streets of Cairo, and as she is trying to survive these, well, streets of Cairo, she accidentally summons a djinn called Dara, and Dara actually has to take her to the City of Brass, and that is the Daevabad world, and that's sort of where the adventure starts. We also follow the perspective of Ali, who is the crown prince of Daevabad, and it is just so in-depth. There's myths, there's legends, there's lore, there's so much mythology to this book, and I feel like some of it is rooted in real life as well, which is really good. And in general, it is just one of the best books I have ever read in my life, and if I can recommend you one, it would be that one. So next up, I think, is a step that is my, well, approximately my favorite step in my routine, and that's eyeshadow. I'm gonna use my Natasha Denona palette. I got this for Christmas last year, and I've got already some really pretty decent use out of this. I really like the tones in this because you can go cool tone, warm toned. There's so much you can do, and this is just a staple. I am on top of that also going to use a little glittery pigment, which is the Moira Shadow Pot in the shade 13 Just Right, which is a beautiful duochrome, which I think matches my dress. So those, and that's going to be my makeup look. But for eyeshadow, we have pick a book that has your favorite color on the cover. So for those of you who don't know, my favorite color is green, and I do have a couple of green books, and there's a couple that are going through my brain. And I think, because the first one that came to mind, but it's not necessarily my favorite shade of green, is the Remnant Chronicles, so The Kiss of Deception, which has a green cover. I think I'm just gonna go for that one. I know it's not my favorite type of green. My favorite type of green is a bit darker, but it is still a really good book, so I figured I would just, you know, pick that one. So The Kiss of Deception actually follows a princess who is supposed to be married, but she doesn't want to do that. And so what she does is she runs away, and then what she doesn't realize is that she is actually hunted by two people. One of them is the crown prince, and one of them is an assassin, and you don't know which is which. This was such a fun story, and I think that the world building in this one is incredible. I really loved reading from all different sides of this. The third book is absolutely massive, and I think I gave all three of the books 5 stars. They were incredible. And I think, speaking of series, because it's been a long time and this series has still stuck with me, and I think that is a good indication of when I like a book. So not only does this have my favorite color on the cover, but it's also a trilogy that is very close to my heart. I think Mary E. Pearson, I want to read some more of her work. I do have some other books of hers on my shelf that I want to get to at some point, but that book just felt magical, and I kind of want to reread it at some point, but considering it's been so long, I'm just scared that it's not gonna live up to my first expectation or my first experience of the book. So I am deadly scared to reread every kind of book that I've loved in the past, because I find that a lot of the books that I currently read, especially young adult ones, just don't live up to the hype that I would want them to live up to, if that makes sense. So I'm scared to do rereads. So yeah, just such a good book, and my favorite color. I mean, I am slightly putting green on my eyes, so I think that, you know, just makes my point more clear. Let me finish up this eyeshadow look, because usually I spend a lot of time on eyeshadow because I want it to look a certain way and then I'm not content. And we will skip ahead, and I will see you once I go on to the next step. So next up is gonna be foundation. I have a couple of different options for foundation. I don't really use a high coverage foundation anymore, but what I do like to use is a skin tint. I really like the Fenty one. I think I'm gonna go for the Fenty one today. And for foundation, we have pick your favorite first book in a series. Do we see duologies as series, by the way? Just wondering, because there's quite a couple that I love in that sense. I haven't finished all of my series. Shame on me, I know. I'm gonna say, there's a couple ones that come to mind. I think I'm gonna go for Markswoman. In this one, I really have to dig back down deep for this one. Kira is the youngest markswoman in the Order of Kali, one of a handful of sisterhoods of highly trained elite warriors, armed with blades, whose metal is imbued with magic and guided by a strict code of conduct. The orders are sworn to keep the peace and protect the people of Asaya. Kira has pledged to do so, yet she secretly harbors a fierce desire to avenge her murdered family. When Tamsin, the powerful and dangerous mistress of mental arts, assumes control of the Order, Kira is forced on the run. She's certain that Tamsin committed murder in a twisted bid for power, but she has no proof. Kira escapes through one of the strange transport hubs that are remnants of Asiana's long-lost past, and finds herself in the unforgiving wilderness of a desert that is home to the Order of Kur, the only order composed of men. Among them is Rustin, a disillusioned marksman whose skill with the blade is unmatched. He understands the desperation of Kira's quest to prove Tamsin's guilt, and as the two grow closer, training daily on the windswept dunes of Kur, both begin to question their commitment to their orders. But what they don't yet realize is that the line between justice and vengeance is thin as the blade of a knife. I really liked the world. It is a quite heavy desert vibe read. And as you probably know, if you've been following me a while, or if you haven't, if you're new, then you know now. I am very much a desert vibe reader. I love desert vibes books. Anything that's warm and dusty and deserty just is up my sleeve. I don't know why. I really, really do. And this first book was incredible. I really liked our two main protagonists. I loved the portal system. I really loved the characters, the character building, just the idea of the magic behind it, and the quest that Kira is on. Really, really good book of this duology. The second one was a bit lackluster in my opinion, but that's probably due to the fact that most of the angst and the yearning was gone by the time we got to book 2, which was a bit sad. I would have liked a little bit more of a slow burn. Other than that, really good book, and I really recommend reading that first one. So next up we have Concealer, and for this one, this is an interesting one. Pick a character you wish you could get rid of. And there's immediately one that comes to mind, and I think that is one of the characters that I preferred least from this series as well, and that is Mal from the Shadow and Bone series. It's been a long time since I read those books. I only vaguely remember what they're about. Well, I do know sort of in the broad sense, but if you would tell me, oh, this happened in book 2, I wouldn't remember. But what I do vividly remember is that Mal is not my type of character. I truly do not like him. I think he's whiny. He doesn't really listen to anyone. Also, the sort of the character development with him is just, it is just not for me. And I actually know that Femke feels the same way, because I remember back then we were saying something along the lines of, yeah, he's a baked brick, but in Dutch, but like we call him a baked brick, and I still stand by that wholeheartedly. If there's one character I could get rid of, it'd be that guy. I don't like him. I don't like the romance. I don't like him as a, yeah, if you would have made him the villain, I would have been good with that. You could have made him the villain all you wanted, and I would not have cared one single bit. It's also what keeps me off from rereading that series, because I just like him that much. Whoopsie. So next up we have Powder, and for Powder it is pick your favorite last book in a series. I have quite a few favorite last books, but I think I'm gonna have to go for Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. That book was incredible. So I'm gonna go back a bit, but in Strange the Dreamer we follow Strange, Laszlo Strange, and he actually is looking for a lost city, and as he keeps finding out more about that and he goes to the city, we also follow Sarai, and Sarai is a dreamer. She can enter the dreams and nightmares of others, and there she meets Laszlo Strange. This series, especially the first book, you have to get into it. It is it's truly really slow, and you're gonna have to buckle in with that. They're both quite big. The second book immediately goes into action, and I just loved the way that the first book set up the second book. I still gave the first book 5 stars because I still really enjoyed it. I think I read it together with some other books and just went, you know, chapter to chapter. I didn't read this in one sitting, not even close. but that second book just immediately goes into action, and it is so good in that sense. I just really enjoyed it, and I remember sobbing my eyes out with both book 1 and book 2, and I'm just, I really want to reread that duology, but I'm again scared of the feelings because I know they're coming now, because I kind of know what will happen, but still scared out of my mind. Moving on to bronzer, because this pale face definitely needs a bronzer, I'm gonna go in with my Hourglass Elephant palette, which was a Christmas holiday edition a couple years ago. This is my trusty. I love it, mostly because of the packaging. Elephants are my favorite animals, and so this has become one of my most treasured makeup bits in my collection. It is a 6-pan, and I'm going to use the bronzer that is in here. So for bronzer, it is a book that defined your reading, and I think if there's one book that has defined my reading and who I am and what I like, it has to be The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I have read more books before that I think really suit who I am and what I like and my tastes, but that really solidified my love for a desert vibe read. So I'm gonna go for The Wrath and the Dawn. So we follow in this one, it is actually 1001 Nights retelling, and in this one we follow Scheherazade Shazi as she offers herself up to be the next king, the next queen, the next bride of the Khalid of the Caliph, and she knows that she'll be murdered by the next dawn, but she is smart enough to start telling the Caliph stories and try and, you know, murder him, because that is her plot. That is why she sacrificed herself to be the next one. And I really like this story. I love her as a protagonist, and she's just, oh, I love her. She's so, like, she's full of spite and full of rage, and just in general really liked her. So yeah, I'm gonna say The Wrath and the Dawn. It really defined my reading. It solidified my love for desert vibe reads and fantasy, and just duologies as well, because I think duologies are my favorite types. I love having 2-book series. That's gonna be my pick for bronzer. I also added the MAC Glow Play blush in True Harmony, by the way. I use this as a bronzer too, and I just layered that on top for a little bit more because it's a bit more cool toned. Really like that. Okay, blush. So for blush, I'm also gonna go for a MAC Glow Play blush, and this is in the shade Ginger Luck. I love these blushes. They're one of my absolute favorites, and I actually use a foundation brush for it. A really dense foundation brush, so it can go right up there. So for blush, we have pick a romance book that you love, and I think I'm gonna go for Lost and Lassoed. I think that is the third one, by Lila Sage. So Lost and Lassoed is the third book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series, and in this one we follow Gus and Teddy. And Gus is the oldest brother of the 3 Rebel, the Rider siblings, and this is a enemies to lovers romance. So we follow Teddy, who is the best friend of our first book protagonist. Wow, I just forgot her name. This is the sister of Gus. Sorry, just forgot her name. And she despises Gus, and Gus despises Teddy. But then in an unfortunate series of events, Teddy's actually helping Gus with his daughter during the summer, and one thing goes to another. I really like this. I think this is one of my favorite romance books. I am definitely not a big romance reader. It is not something that I do very often, but when I do find one that I really like, you betcha I'm obsessed. And this was one of those. I really liked the pining that they did and their confused feelings because of the fact that they've despised each other so long. I love how everyone around them knows what is happening but them. And I think this series as a whole is really good. The third one is definitely my favorite. I think after that, the second, then the first, and then the final one, which is the fourth book. But if I had to pick, that would 100% be my favorite. So I'm gonna put that one on my pick a romance book that you loved question. So next up we have eyeliner, and for eyeliner I'm going to use a brown one. I'm going to do that in a little bit because I can't talk and do eyeliner at the same time because it's not going to look too nice. But for eyeliner, it is pick a dark and mysterious book, and for that one I'm going to go for The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. So I actually wanted to get the synopsis up because I think that can do it more justice than I can, because it says the following. Alessandra is tired of being overlooked, but she has a plan to gain power. Woo the Shadow King, marry him, kill him, and take his kingdom for herself. And I think if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about the book, there you go. I really loved it because of the fact that it is such a strong main protagonist, and also the yearning. The yearning in this book was something out of this world. It was real good, and I just really enjoyed her as a main character. Also the Shadow King, I love him. Also the magic in there, and just the story. It is a standalone, and I think for a standalone it was pretty solid, and I just really enjoyed it. So that one's gonna be my dark and mysterious book. Now I'm gonna do my eyeliner without speaking because I can't do that to save my life. Okay, so my eyeliner's on. I do a little half wing. I used to do it all the way to here, which I think you would have probably seen in a video before, but now I do it approximately to here. I think that's approximately right, and I think it looks a lot neater. I don't know, just really like it. So next up we have mascara, and mascara is pick a long book, and I think the first long book that comes to mind is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. It's been a while since I read it, and I am not sure if it is my favorite book in the world. It has dragons, and I feel like it is just really long. I feel like the ending was very predictable. I know that a lot of people love that book, so I might have a little bit of a controversial opinion on it. But it was a good book. But did it have to be that long? I don't know exactly how many pages, but if you wanted to stop a burglar from coming in, you could throw them this book and it would help. I don't know. It is just huge. It is not my favorite. I still think it's a good book, but maybe it was just a bit too long. I don't necessarily think I liked the idea of the Orange Tree Sanctuary in there. Also the fact that I don't really remember what the story is about, whereas I can easily tell you what the City of Brass is about. It's not necessarily the best, you know, best little hint there that I don't really remember. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go for Priory of the Orange Tree. So my mascara is done, and it's now time for lips, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a lip combo. I have a lip liner and a lipstick. So this is the NYX Suede Matte Lip Liner in the color Sandstorm, and I have the Clinique lip balm stick thing in the shade Nude Honey. So that's gonna be my lip combo. As for the question for this, it is your favorite couple in a book, and I think I'm gonna go for one that was a recent read. For me, a recent read is still not that recent. It's been a while. Cats, hello. Can we not? Can we not, buddy? So for this one, I think I can't talk and do this at the same time, but I'm gonna attempt. So for this one, I'm gonna go for Oriah and Rain from The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This is a book that I read beginning of this year and the ending of last year, I think both of them. What is happening? There's cats in the background, I'm sorry. And I just really liked the tension between them. I think they're a really good couple. Really liked the duology as well. And the writing is just incredible. I really like Carissa Broadbent. I've since also read the Something with a Vampire. What I really like about them is the banter. I think in general the duology is really good. It is, I think, one of my favorites from the last year and a half, and I love the banter, the yearning is so good, and in general I just really like the way this story is evolving. So we follow a human in this, Oriah, who goes into a trial, and This is the Trial of Nyaxia, so of the goddess herself, and there she meets Rain. This book is just, it is huge. It was also huge, but it is so good, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna say them. So the last step is setting spray, and I have the MCO Beauty Miracle Setting Spray. I'm almost out of it, as you can see, but I already got a new one. I like this one. And for setting spray, it is a book that left you with a book hangover. So it can go either or with me for this one. It can either be a really, really good book, which leaves me in a book hangover, or it's a really, really bad book. And let's, in the Christmas spirit, stay positive, shall we? So we're gonna go for a really, really good book. So for this one, I'm gonna go for Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillick. This is the second book in the Shepherd King duology. Oh, I sobbed my eyes out with this book. I think in general, the duology is really good, but the first one definitely sets you up for the second book, and the second book is just way better. And I already gave the first one 5 stars. So really good duology, but that last one, that ending, you felt it was coming, but still I sobbed my bloody eyes out for this book, and I was quite sad about it, but it's just so good, and it left me in a reading hangover because I didn't want to pick up a different book. I just kept thinking about that one, and I just really, really enjoy it. So that's gonna have to be my final setting spray book in that sense. So let's put some setting spray on and finish up the makeup. And that is the makeup look done. That is, I don't know exactly how many, but with every single step a book that links to that step in that question. And I hope you have once again enjoyed the Christmas countdown December month. There is going to be a wrap up of the little Christmassy cards that you see on my right here, which is going to be, I think, on Friday or Saturday. I think Saturday. But at the ending of this current week, the week you're currently watching this, or when this video goes live. And I want to thank you so much for watching all of the Christmas countdown videos. If you've missed a couple, there is a playlist which I'll link down below. And thank you so much. Have a really, really good Christmas. I will see you before the end of the year, but thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, press the little bell icon so you get post notifications every single time a new video goes live, because we're about to go into the new year and the new Game of the Books. And I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!